Hello there guys, NikoTheShrek here with yet another brand new Shrekview for you. This is Shrekview number 11 for my channel, and I'm looking to get back into these full-fledged. So let's go ahead, and if you guys are not aware, Shrekview is basically my version of a game review. I just call it that for this in the namesake of the channel. So let's get into this. Today I'm going to review Rocket League, and we are going to hop right in and show you what exactly this game has to offer. And I'm going to be reviewing a few different categories today. First and foremost is the graphical category, as that is a very significant factor to a lot of gamers. Although not myself, I do still like to add the visual opinion of my own, just so you guys get an understanding of what I see and what I know is to be the case. And then we will proceed to go from the visuals to the performance of the game, and that will kind of tie together, then to the mechanics, and then to the accessibility. With that being said, to start off with the visual aspect of the review, I will say that on any mainstay console or PC as of today, you can almost guarantee yourself the ability to have a visual stunning version of this game, whether you play at a generally high setting, extremely high setting. There are plenty of options to have the full visual capacity of this game brought out, but let me go ahead and delve into the details. Rocket League on each and every mainstay console besides the Switch, and on most PCs, plays natively at a 60 frames per second rate. And that is pretty amazing for the game's high octane gameplay, the kind of craziness that goes on the average match. But with that being said, it's no worries. The PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and most mainstay home PCs of today do have the hardware to be able to handle this game, even at some of its most peak visuals. But the game shines when you are playing it on the HD versions of the mainstay consoles, or on a relatively well-built gaming PC. With that being said, here is why. When you absolutely adjust your settings to optimal visuals, if of course your internet connection is very stable, you will suffer very, very little in regards to performance loss, and it is such a fulfilling experience to have all the additional minor details come together to create an honestly fairly beautiful experience for how old the game is and for what the game is. For the games to run at not only 60 frames a second, but to have such amazing visual detail, from the lighting to the texture effects to the way the cars look, the paint, the different kinds of toppings and aesthetics you can have on the car, it makes for a very interesting combination of things to look out for, in the sense of, just look at the texture of the grass, the way it slightly waves in the wind. Look at the fact that when the car tires run through it, they slightly separate. The headlights, the sunlight, everything is perfectly crafted to the degree that it has to be. I'm not saying that this looks like a cinematic masterpiece, but this game is pretty visually stunning in its minor details. And you can definitely see that, especially when you adjust the graphical settings to be at their highest performance. The graphics in this game have a bit of a fun, almost party aesthetic, in the sense that nothing is too harsh on the eyes, but the colors are very vibrant, the lighting is very well done, and the way that the game just puts out the little details, everything from the stadiums to the actual explosions when you get the ball into the goal, to the field itself, all the different car combinations, they always do spot on well when it comes to the different kind of aesthetics you receive. There's nothing ever really wrong with them. The lighting effects are amazing. The shading is amazing. I mean, just look at that. Look at that beautifulness. It's just so fun and interesting. It's almost like staring at a different kind of lava lamp every time you make a goal, to be honest. and just overall very visually well done. Certainly no complaints on my end in that regard. My suggestion is to play on either a mainstay console or a PC as of this modern day and age, as most PCs are pretty well equipped, most especially even moderate gaming PCs. Now, let's go to the one visual negative here. When you are playing on the Switch console, whether it be on the docked mode or the handheld, you will experience issues with things like rubber banding and latency issues. You will experience delays in what exactly it is you're doing at times. It is not a permanent situation where it's always malperforming and it's always causing you to pull your hair out, but it is something to take note of when considering purchasing for the Switch. Do understand that there's nothing wrong with having the Switch version. My buddy has the Switch version as well as the PC version, and he plays the Switch version with me all the time because I have a Switch myself, and I bring over my controller to play with him. And although the game suffers a bit of a visual downgrade on the Switch, in the sense that it is definitely not in its peak performance, I would say that the visuals on the Switch hit a moderate to moderate low. It is surely for the sake of the Switch being able to perform, as it is first and foremost a handheld hybrid console, in the sense that you can take it on the go and still maintain and play AAA titles with relatively good graphics for what they're worth on a handheld console, completely and entirely without any major performance losses that cause the game to break. So with that, I do cut the Switch a little slack, because the Switch does try its best to keep things what they are supposed to be, and I give it all the respect in the world for even being able to play Rocket League to its intended purpose, and that is to be a fun, enjoyable party game for people to play both rocket cars and soccer at the same time. So, certainly do not find this to be, how would you say, detracting from if you want it on the Switch. If all you play is the Switch, it certainly is still a reasonable option. It certainly is fun to play. I have gotten a lot of great times out of playing it on the Switch with my friend, even with the visual downgrades. So that's the only real negative I had to remark on the visuals of this game in particular, because it only really takes place on one console. I kind of saved it for the end there, as it wasn't necessarily prevalent. So let's go ahead then and transition from visuals, which I would give a bare minimum of 4 out of 5 for what they're worth. Let's go ahead and transition from the visuals to the performance of the game. As I said, most times you are running at a constant 60 frames a second for any given mainstay console or any given decently rigged PC. With gaming PCs, especially the ones that are super high performance, and with the PS4 Pros and Xbox One X, 4K visuals as well as increased and enhanced processing ability, you are looking at a cracked 80 frames a second on a bare minimum when the visuals are cranked to their highest capacity, which is the 4K. Without the 4K, when you do lower the visuals for a smoother performance, you're looking at least 100 frames a second. I've seen people cap at things like 120 on the consoles, and above that on their cracked gaming PCs that have pure performance in regards to processing power, graphic cards. They have, especially processing power and RAM. Those are going to be the two big factors on you being able to play the game as if you never miss a beat. The consoles, from what I've seen so far, have had no issues in that regard. I've not had any issues actually seeing where the ball is, knowing where I'm going, seeing where my car is going to be next when I make a calculated move. There's never been an issue like that. So with that being said, I do want to say that the consoles, Xbox and PS4, are a perfectly reasonable performance pick. Nothing wrong with getting it on either console. For the worldwide sheer performance and numbers for this game, at its peak, you'll see a little over 150,000 people playing at any given time. In non-peak hours, you're looking at 80 to 75. I've seen it go as low as 60, for what it's worth. But needless to say, that's not going to cause an issue with finding a match. The game, in regards to the queues and wait times, certainly does not have you sitting there for ages just to play one match, as you guys already saw, especially when you find a group that you want to play with consistently. The multiplayer performs perfectly well, in the sense that there are no real problems with integrating every single person who does want to play in your party into the game. And even when I'm playing solo in times like this, where I am not playing with a pre-built squad, I am playing with whoever's playing, I experience no performance issues, no performance drops as a result of having different people play from different consoles and different, internet settings, and there could be a variety of factors that could easily cause a game like this to experience performance downgrades, and yet it refuses to do so. So I give it mad respect in that regard, and I am more than happy to say that no matter what you're doing, effectively, you almost cannot fail in regards to the performance of this game. You will always pretty much know where you're going and what you're doing. Unfortunately, this might sound like a bit of a strike 2 for Switch players, in the sense that my only real performance gripe is with the Switch. I hate to say it, but as I mentioned before in regards to the frame rate, the Switch just drops so significantly, especially when you're playing in the handheld mode, to just about 20 to 25 to 30 frames a second, and sometimes even 20. Now, with that being said, it's not irredeemable, but it is very difficult when you compare it to something like the PlayStation or the Xbox or a PC. It just becomes unmatched, in the sense that, it's difficult if you play across multiple platforms and have to go back to seeing it at that frame rate and then go back to having a good one, and just that back and forth might cause some issues for people who are very, very strict on the way their games perform, and the way they want to visualize the game and the way they want to do. If you have very strict requirements in how you play a game and how you want it to have a specific frame rate, then perhaps the Switch version is not for you. But if you're willing to deal with the minor downgrades to be able to play Rocket League still on the go, and then be able to attach it to an at-home television, Switch is certainly still a viable option. I do not discourage it at all. Just be aware that there are some performance issues. Rubber banding I've seen happen, delayed latency, and just overall you do see that the game is very slowed down in frame rate. It's a lot harder to see what exactly is going on, although it is not game breaking per se. So do not get me wrong to any degree. It is not the worst, but it's just not the best. If you're looking for the best, you might try your luck elsewhere. So moving on from the performance, as we already know that most anything will perform really well with this game. It's very, very performance accessible. Let's go ahead and move on to the mechanics. This game offers an extremely fun, mechanical, easy to pick up a platform, very difficult to master. I picked this game up and started playing immediately, had a lot of fun playing with other beginners like myself, but as I started rising up and my character kept leveling up, my person, as I kept leveling up, I noticed that the difficulty curve started becoming a little bit crazy, in the sense that everybody else definitely has a really good understanding of the game. I am not as mechanically invested as I don't get to play it consistently or very often. Now that I do have it, I most certainly can gladly play it and get back into it and kind of build a consistent uh, performance increase in my own regard, in regards to the mechanics of the game. But other than that, I see some incredible people playing this game doing some incredible things, but it all requires just the attempt to, you know, play the ranked, study the maneuvers that you can do. The fact that you have the rocket boosters on the cars, a lot of people don't understand that. Yes, it makes you go faster on the ground, but you can also do so much aerially. You can drive up to the top of the stadium and rocket your way down and spike a ball into the goal. You can go take the purely ground offense approach, where you're sitting there driving around trying to just destroy your enemies for your team and allow them to be able to dominate the playing field. You can even take the hybrid approach, where you protect your goal, destroy a few people, and run the ball forward, take charge for your team, and allow them that time to run around and position themselves for a defensive approach. I mean, there is really just any real way you can go about this, mechanically speaking. I am more of a defensive type. I like keeping the ball away from my goal if possible, and I like destroying the enemies around me, so that when my friends are going into the goal to be able to shoot the ball in, they don't have as much resistance. Now, that is my personal play style, but there are so many ways you can play, and in fact, the size of your car, because there are so many aesthetics to choose from in regards to the game mechanics, there are so many aesthetics and car body types and stuff you can choose from that actually do have a minor effect on the game. And here's what I mean by that. Take, for example, the fact that in this game footage, I am playing Sweet Tooth. And with that Sweet Tooth skin, I am a much larger target in regards to if I was running the ball in solo for a pure juke session. I wouldn't be able to do that as well, because I'm still very, very obvious and very, very large. My movement is very visible. Everybody can pretty much see what I'm doing, and so for the most part, they avoid me whenever they can. And then on top of that, when they see me have the ball, as you see here, they attack me as much as possible, because they know I won't be able to handle the pressure. But there are other smaller cars that would be able to outmaneuver an assault on even by 2 or 3 people if they played it right. And because those smaller cars are a lot smaller to be able to hit, their actual hitbox is smaller, and thus they become a lot more maneuverable and offensive capable in regards to getting the ball to the goal as quickly as possible if you're going for a speed pressure approach. Now, I for one see that these two cars next to me are smaller, so what I'm going to do is, since I am more defensive, I am simply going to blow that guy up and make sure that the ball stays away from my goal. And then when I see people driving around on the field, I'm going to make sure they don't get to have the offense on my team. Like, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that they get knocked away from the ball, knocked away from my team, and make sure that ultimately I, for one, don't see my teammates get blown up themselves. So if I see a player become more aggressive, what I'm going to do naturally by default is I'm going to aggress the people who are trying to kill my teammates. Quite on the controversy, vice versa, let's go ahead and look at the fact that these guys are smaller cars who are outmaneuvering these other cars and choosing to take the offensive approach in getting the ball over to the goal and whatever have you. You see what I'm saying. The mechanical differences vary by gameplay style. It is really ultimately up to you what you choose to do, and the advanced mechanics are so much more worth learning, but if you do not learn them and you do not become a Rocket League mechanical master, that's okay, because there is casual play for a reason, and you do not have to ascend in the ranks if you do not want to. But it is worth at least picking up a video or two by the pros to see how they play and to see the kinds of minor mechanical things you could be doing to ascend, even on the slightest edge, your gameplay capacity. So I highly suggest looking up some YouTube tutorials and Twitch streams from the professionals, like I said, to be able to get those kind of edges, the little minor edges, to be able to outperform even on the slightest level and ascend your gameplay to a whole new fun level. And I think you guys will have a blast with that. So definitely, mechanically speaking, very simple to pick up, in the sense that all you really have to do is drive around and hit the ball into the goal. Very hard to master in the sense that you could do a triple rocket backflip, you know, and hit the ball into a downward angle that strikes the goal. You know, it's like there are some incredible maneuvers that you can pull that are far beyond my capability. But if anyone wanted to dedicate themselves to this game more fully than I do, they could get some pretty sick gameplay footage out of it, or at least have a damn blast with their friends, showing them all the sick moves they can pull. And I'm all for that, for sure. Just having a good time with your friends, showing them all the fucking awesome developments you've made in regards to your gaming career. So definitely worth trying to master, at least if you want to invest any significant amount of time into the game. I would suggest trying to master the core mechanics with rocket jumping and being able to maneuver the vehicle in the air. And with that being said, I'm going to conclude the video. This game has such an amazing, just roundabout experience to offer, and if it was not for games like this, people would not be just sitting together casually having a good time, just enjoying themselves, having a good laugh, and just having those moments when you just do something so sick and so cool and make a ridiculous shot from across the map. It can be so rewarding to just enjoy the time with friends and family. That brings me to accessibility. Guys, this game can be played anywhere. This game can be played anytime, with anyone, for anyone, by anyone. There is nothing in this game that would make it to where your children are experiencing something vulgar, or there's a ultra violence and blood and gore. And even if you're not talking about children, even if you're talking about full-fledged adults who just want a more casual experience than the usual Call of Duty, or Fortnite, or Apex, or Titanfall, all those things are wonderful games, but sometimes you just want something more relaxing, more just casual, not as intense, not as explodey, you know? Definitely something worth looking at. If you want a nice party game to sit down, play split screen on, you can do that. It is split screen. If you have an extra controller, invite a buddy over, have a couple beers, eat a couple appetizers, play the game, have a good time. I've gotten some great laughs, great moments, awesome moments playing 1v1 with my buddy. We do that all the time in his split screen. On top of that, conversely, you can go online with your buddies, maybe even gather a third person, and do the online mode. Face up against other teams, build a team of your own, rise up the ranks. The choice is yours in regards to this game. It is the party game for everyone. It is so much fun, and yet so simple to really get a genuine good time out of. You don't have to be a super gamer in order to make something good out of this or get enjoyment out of it. It is such a simple formula. Rocket cars playing soccer. I mean, come on, you can't get better than that. You can't get something more appealing than that for just people who want to look for something party-wise to have fun with. So with that being said, I'm going to give this a total of 4 out of 5 stars, mostly due to the fact that the Switch had such issues with performance that I feel like if Psyonix really wanted to, they could have taken a look into porting it more optimally into the Switch and optimizing it just better in general, avoiding the latency issues, the rubber banding, the constant visual downgrades, the performance issues that it does experience when playing in specifically handheld mode. If they could just touch that up and kind of, compensate for the fact that Nintendo doesn't have the best online service on Earth, I think they could have made it a lot better, but that's just my opinion. But that's why it's getting a 4 out of 5, because in every other aspect, on every other platform, in every other way, visually, mechanically, performance-wise, this game is incredible. It is so much fun, and there's so few people playing it nowadays. It had some initial hype when it first came out, because a lot of YouTubers were playing it, but as of now, this game is falling in to kind of the ground, there's not many people playing. There is a dedicated player base, but it's not very many. So I encourage anybody who wants to try it out and who's been hesitant to pull the trigger to go ahead and give it a try. It's only $20, guys. It's only $20. So go ahead and give it a try. See if you like it, and if you don't, it's not too much of a loss. Just go ahead and let a buddy play the digital copy or the physical copy, whatever you have, and be done with it. That's all I can really say. Is it's definitely worth giving a shot, at least. I think you will have just a blatantly amazing time, especially when you're playing with friends, family, your children, your wife, anybody. Just go ahead and pick up the game. I will give it an official 4 out of 5 in this Shrekview number 11. If you guys liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to ring the bell icon. Be sure to share with your friends. And make sure to just enjoy yourselves out there. Wherever, whenever you may be watching, I wish you the best. I hope you guys are doing well. And until next time, I will catch you on the flip side. See you in the next video, guys.